Hello and welcome to episode number 14 of the Pacific Perspectives podcast. And we're joined by a special guest today. It is our friend Olivia. Olivia, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, I'm a Habs fan. I live in Vancouver. That's all you need to know about me.
Brilliant. Now we have a great episode in store today. We're recording 2 days late. I really got to eat food. None of us want to be here at this exact time right now, but we're going to get through it anyway.
I always want to be here. I've been thinking about this podcast for a week now, frankly.
Oh, yeah, you've been dreaming about it?
I have.
Yeah?
I actually have had a Pacific Perspectives podcast dream yesterday. I woke up in a heat because there was a commenter saying, your fly is undone. And just like my dick is like on the screen. That's my worst nightmare.
Feeling Germa bits now?
Oh, crap. That is a Germa bit. I didn't even think of that.
That's crazy. I had a dream a couple days ago. I got stabbed in the face, and I woke up with my heart racing. Anyway.
What does that have to do with the Pacific Perspectives podcast?
Can you shut up? I'm
Right,
trying to maneuver along in this. This is so scuffed. We have 3 teams to go through. All Canadian teams. We have a very Canadian week ahead of us. Who would like to start? We're recounting... Actually, I mean, 2 of us played each other, and I was there. So I guess we could start with Habs Canucks. It was a good game on Monday.
It was
What do you
great.
think?
I had a wonderful time watching it, which I was definitely doing.
Well, I can take the reins on this one. The Canucks made me spend hundreds of dollars of my own money. They made me freeze my ass off in Montreal on a fucking Monday. They made me miss the first day of term. All to blow a 3-1 lead and lose in overtime. And the most disappointing part of it, I still had a good time. I still got to see some goals. I got to see them at least get a point. It was funny and all. But I've been defending Niels Höglander the first, 3 months of the season so far. And he takes the dumbest, stupidest, brain-deadiest penalty with 30 seconds left. Doesn't have a stick. You can still defend without a stick without taking a penalty, but he takes a penalty, and they just win on the power play in overtime. And I was so pissed at him, because after all the defending I've done, he blows my money. But I got to see some good stuff. I got to see Lane Hutson in person for the first time. Surely you have some thoughts on Lane Hutson?
I have so many thoughts on Lane Hutson. He is quickly becoming one of my very favorite players of the NHL, especially on this recent run he's been on the last 3 weeks or month, where he just is racking up primary assists like crazy. There's something, I don't know exactly what it is about him, but it just feels like he sees the ice differently from every defenseman the Habs have had since I've been a fan, which is dating back to about 2012, 2013 at this point. He is so fun to watch, and obviously there's defensive lapses which people bring up all the time, but even that I think gets overblown with just how nuts he is, especially on the power play.
I agree with that, honestly. I mean, I started off the season kind of... I always loved Lane Hutson. You know, you got to cheer for the underdog because he's short and he was taken way too low. I mean, in hindsight, probably should have gone top 10. Even just considering the production he had at the time in his D0 year, should have gone top 20. Obviously, in a redraft at this point, he's going top 5. But besides that fact, he did start off the year pretty bad defensively, just from an outside looking in. Admittedly, I've only watched 6 Habs games this year, but I see what you mean. He's just different. He's a different player. He has that thing that superstar players have, like a Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar. Obviously, he's nowhere near as good as them yet, but you could totally see that he's got what it takes to become those people.
I mean, he's very clearly Quinn Hughes light. He's racking up a ton of assists.
A tiny bit shorter.
Well, okay. He's not a 1-to-1 replica of Quinn Hughes. That's why I called him Quinn Hughes light. But he's racking up so many assists, not getting too many goals yet. I'm assuming that's going to come at some point like it did for Quinn Hughes, 17 goals last year. He's a great skater. He can really control the play well, and I was very impressed by him. He played... I was told by Habs fans, at least, that the game against Montreal was his best game, or the game against Vancouver was his best game in the NHL yet, and I could see that. He did score a goal in that game, although it was Quinn Hughes who scored the goal, and it was Lane Hutson who threw it off of Quinn Hughes. That was kind of sad. But yeah, he played very well, and I'm impressed by him. I just wish he would get a new haircut.
It's bad. Yeah, no,
It's real bad.
It's very much first day of picture day, grade 5.
Frail Victorian.
That's the haircut I had in like grade 3.
Moving on from that, Xavier, what games did the Oilers play since we last recorded 8 days ago?
I can't remember. I was at the Kings game last night on Monday, but I mean, it's been so long since we recorded. We played Boston, absolutely destroyed them. Pittsburgh, we dominated them, but like the first 5 minutes, Kulak played possibly the worst hockey he's ever played, and Skinner just had a pretty average, really bad night for Stuart Skinner. And then Chicago, we obviously decimated them. We only won by 1 goal, but that was because Pickard let in a couple just nasty, very bad positioning error goals. Like besides the first 10 minutes against Pittsburgh, that was like one of the most dominant Oilers weeks I've ever seen. I mean, frankly, they're just racking up the standings, and they're not blowing out teams. They're winning in completely different ways. I mean, they beat the Kings by 1. By 1. In the final 2 periods of play, they gave them, I think, 8 shots in even strength. They ended up being tied on shots, but most of those were either on the power play or they were when the goalie was pulled. So basically, they completely shut them down on even strength, and you could tell they were not counting on Stuart Skinner making that massive cross-crease save on Kempe early. I think it was like halfway through the first. They were really pushing, and I just thought for sure that was going in. Stuart Skinner does not save those. He doesn't have the lateral movement. He just doesn't have it. Doesn't have the technical ability to do it. But he did it! Mainly because Kempe was aiming at his glove. Sorry, Stuart Skinner lovers, but it's true. But still, I mean, he got the shutout, and it was an amazing game, I gotta say. For a 1-0 game, it was very entertaining, but it just shows that they can win in a multitude of ways. And, I mean, they're like, 6 points out of first in the league? And we're at a point where, and I think I was saying before the year started that they are the best team in the league. We might see it in the regular season that they can actually, they're 4 points out from the President's Trophy. I just checked. I think they can win the President's Trophy. They're that good. And they're getting, like, not good goaltending, obviously against the Kings to get the shutout, but besides that, Skinner's been pretty bad. Pickard, even worse. But they're just so dominant. I don't know. You guys probably hate how good the Oilers are. I'm sorry.
I'm from Edmonton. I like all 3 teams in the voice chat right now because I lived in Edmonton and I live in Vancouver, and I said, don't ask. I'm not mad about it. I do think you're overreacting a tad because I think you're neglecting how insane the Knights have been lately too. And I think whoever wins the Pacific will win the President's Trophy. Like, the Knights have been on a really good stretch lately, and I only know that because I do find them genuinely entertaining to watch.
Really?
Yes, I think the Knights are actually a very fascinating. I just love Pavel Dorofeyev. He's
pretty good. He's pretty good.
So much. He shoots the pucks all the time.
I mean, how long has it been since the Pacific has been this just ridiculously stacked? The Kings have fallen to 10th, but the other day they were like 5th. Which, I mean, first of all, it shows how good just the top 16 in the league is this year. That they're so close. I'd say more like top 14 because that would include the Flames and the Canucks, and they're not good. So, but like you've got the Vegas in first, 61 points. Edmonton at 5th, and they're above the Wild for points percentage. So they're technically 4th in the league. And then you have the Kings at 10th, and they're actually they are 6th in the league in points percentage. So you've got 1, 4, and 6 are in the same division in the divisional spot. This is a situation where, like last year in the Central, you do not want to finish 2 or 3. You finish 2 or 3, you're dead. Doesn't matter.
It probably does matter because one of those teams has to win.
Well, but like they're taking a piece with you, you know?
Okay. Going back to the question posed like 2 minutes ago, the Oilers don't really piss me off in the regular season.
Really?
It doesn't matter to me. I know they're going to make the playoffs, so like nothing they do bothers me. When they win, it's like whatever. The Kings, I don't understand why they're that good. I still don't get it, even without Doughty. Like, Doughty being gone has somehow helped them. Kemper and Riddick or Riddich are both. Wait, is it Riddick or Riddich? I can never
Riddick.
remember.
It's definitely Riddick.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, Riddick, yeah.
They're both doing pretty well.
They're both
Especially
bad
Kemper. Like, why is
goalies.
Kemper good again?
I don't get it. They're just not good goalies. If you look at their numbers anywhere else, they're not good.
Vegas consistently pisses me off. I actually can't watch their games because it makes me so angry. Anyway,
agree.
you blew through the Oilers games. I'm going to get through the 3 other Canucks games quickly. First off, after Montreal was Washington, where the Canucks actually outplayed Washington, who at the time was, I think, first in the league in point percentage. I don't know if that's the same today, but they're very, very high up there. They're having a great season. We completely outplayed them. Like, when we got to overtime, we were doubling them in shots, which the Canucks just don't do. We had so many games in a row of under 30 shots, and we had 30 shots to Washington's 14 entering overtime. But, of course, DeBrusk and Myers gave up on the front of the net, and Pierre-Luc Dubois scored the overtime winner, because that's what we do. We lose in overtime. And then we move on to a Friday night game against Carolina, which is the worst game of hockey I think I've ever watched in my life. And I have the statistics to prove it, okay? Here's my statistic to prove it. I fell asleep at 11 p.m. that night. I haven't fallen asleep before midnight in genuine years. But I was so tired and just devoid of all energy after watching that shitfest that I completely crashed, and I woke up at 8 a.m. That does not happen to me ever. That was just such an awful game. They couldn't get any shots because Carolina plays. That's the game Carolina plays. I don't know how Carolina fans can watch that team consistently and like have fun watching that team. I know they're winning teams, but oh my god, that game made me want to like. Well, it didn't even make me angry. I was just bored. I was just so bored, and
I know exactly what you mean. Man solves insomnia. Doctors hate him.
The Hurricanes are my new Islanders. I watched the Ducks, the game they played against the Ducks the other night, and it was just a miserable experience. They had like 40 shots, but it felt like 10 because none of them were real. Like,
why were you watching Hurricanes Ducks? Why is that a game you would ever put on?
I just get bored and put on hockey. Is that such a crime?
I actually watched that one too, but I was scouting Dostal for my fantasy team.
Were there any other games on?
No.
I don't remember. Maybe Wild Nights. I think that was that night.
Yeah, I don't think there was any games on at that time. No.
Moving on to the most recent Canucks game played, it was against Toronto on Saturday, and we landed in Toronto 6 hours before game time. It was the second end of a back-to-back. We were 0-4 in the second game of back-to-backs going into that game, and we landed like 6 hours before. I had no faith. But that's the kind of game that Toronto loses. We played our hearts out. They dominated. Like, they played so well. Toronto had some good chances in the first. Other than that, we completely locked them down. Sherwood scored a beautiful snipe in the third, like starting off a nice pass from Quinn, a shifty pass. And I've noticed that a lot, especially the last 2 games. Quinn has made some insane passes, but it hasn't resulted in anything because the players don't expect it. How could you possibly be on the ice at the same time as Quinn Hughes and not just consistently be expecting the puck to end up on your stick? Luckily, Sherwood was. I mean, it caught him a little off guard, but he still was ready enough to fire it into the net, so that was nice. And that was a great game. That's a game you got to build on. We're now the healthiest we've been all season. The only person we're missing in the lineup is the dude whose jersey I'm wearing right now, Dakota Joshua. Hronek's back tonight. We have Pettersson back. We have Hughes, who's kind of dead, but at least he's in the lineup and he's still insane. This is the healthiest we've been. We got a great character win on Saturday. We have to start winning games now, especially because Calgary's passed us in the wild card. We need to start winning games now, currently. We need people to step up. Garland hasn't been as good recently. Pettersson hasn't been good since Miller came back. Miller has been Besser needs to step up a little more. DeBrusk, his scoring is going a little bit down. We need these guys to ramp it up now. We need Hyman to do anything. Bluger, an interesting thing about Teddy Bluger, last year, analytically, he was amazing. This year, analytically, he's garbage. He ranks so low in like all the advanced stats. He's a great penalty killer. He's pretty much revived our penalty killing this year, him and Suter. But other than that, like, he really needs to do more because right now, oh man, we got to expect more from Teddy Blueger. I know I don't need him to carry the team or anything, but he needs to at least be a good defensive forward. And the stats do not suggest that he is being a good defensive forward.
Can you really expect more from Teddy Blueger? I feel like that's not a very crucial guy to.
He was our best defensive forward last season, and now he's ranking so low on all of those lists. Like, I need.
It is a crazy switch up, but at least he's still a good penalty killer.
I don't need him to put up 40 points. He can put up 25 points, but he needs to stop the other team more, and he needs to be making smarter plays at even strength. Penalty killing, great. I'm not mad at him or anything because the penalty killing has saved him. Same thing with Suter. Suter hasn't scored since December 1st, but he's the best penalty killer on the team. So I'm fine with him. They're fine, but I would love for them to be doing more. Actually, not even Suter. Suter can just never score again. If he keeps playing defensively the way he has, he's our best defensive player. It's actually kind of insane. Our best defensive player is a forward, and our best offensive player is a defenseman. What is happening?
Nice.
If I'm allowed to circle back to Mr. Kiefer Sherwood, something I felt when I was watching the game against the Leafs, and then I validated when I checked later, it felt like he was always on the ice, and that's because he was first in time on ice from among Canucks forwards that game by like a full minute. Like, he has earned the trust of that coaching staff so much. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the second unit we deploy on the penalty kill. He's on the second unit we deploy on the power play, and when he's playing a good game, I mean, he's Tocchet's kind of guy. You know, physical, does well back checking. He's good in his defensive end, and he can score. So when he's on his game, which isn't every single night, it's been a lot of nights, but it isn't every single night. It's not even surprising when he gets the most minutes on the team because he can shut it down. He can help us win. If it were like, you know, if we were losing by 1, I wouldn't expect him to be having the most minutes. But in a game like that, where we're up 3-0 at the start of the third, like, that's the kind of guy you want to have out there.
Definitely. And I also, it kind of makes me envious, just because of the, like, I don't know if, like, necessarily the Canucks have this perception as, like, a super deep team, but to me, they are. Because when I watch the Habs, like, you have the top line, Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, they're out there, like, 22 minutes a night, every night. And the Canucks can have, like, that leading forward 17 minutes. Like, that's a considerable difference, I think, in my head.
Yeah, our depth is really the selling point of the team. And we have guys, like, Garland's averaging 19 minutes so far this season. Obviously, Pettersson, Miller, DeBrusk, Besser are all also up there. Sherwood's at like 14.5, and then you got Suter. Like, we can just, any single day, any line can lead us in ice time depending on how they're playing. Besides, you know, like, Phil DiGiuseppe probably isn't going to get 15.
PDG. Yeah, you're not feeling PDG? I don't know.
We have a very solid lineup, and it kind of brings me to the point I was talking with Xavier earlier before we started recording. I was comparing all of our depth forwards to the Oilers' depth. And actually, if you look at the entire forward staff, the Canuck is outperforming the Oiler in every slot except for 1C, where McDavid is dominating Pettersson, like doubling him in points, and 2C, where Draisaitl is dominating Miller and doubling him in points. And then everything else, like, the Canucks' depth is insane if our stars could get going a little more.
One caveat to that. Arvidsson has missed like 20 games. Hyman missed like, what, 10, 15?
No,
so obviously their stats are not going to look the same.
I adjusted. Besser missed games.
Oh, he adjusted?
Okay. He's still doing better than Hyman. Garland, points per game, still doing
Would you take Besser over Hyman?
Would you not?
No!
Why?
Not even close!
Oh my!
Not even close! Look at the advanced stats. Look at the advanced stats. You can be the tiebreaker, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be like right in the middle.
I do think that is very close in my head. I think.
Okay, it's not very far apart, but I think we're talking about Besser is a top liner and Hyman is like a good top liner.
They both make me mad, is what's consistent about them, because I both think they could do a lot better than they do. Except Besser's been pretty good again this year.
I don't know. Looking at all the stats, and I've watched Besser, he doesn't really do too much really on his own, I mean,
Hyman
neither
does?
does Hyman, but
Yeah.
Hyman...
What is Hyman without McDavid?
Okay, listen. People always talk about, what is Hyman without... If you watch an Oilers game, Hyman is legit like the primary puck carrier on that line. I don't know why, and it's not a good strategy, because McDavid is obviously the better puck carrier, but like he does a lot more than just stand in front of the net and like it just goes in off of his ass or something. No, he is a genuinely elite player. Besser is almost an elite player. Like, I'll put it that way.
He's an all-star.
Okay, like what, 3 years ago? I don't.
40 goals.
Well, he was an all.
Those were snipes too. Those weren't just
That was
passes.
that was a fake year. That was a fake year. Last year, the Canucks stats literally do not matter. Okay.
Hyman shot like 19% last year.
I will also say that Hyman stats last year do not matter. Like, he's not a 50-goal scorer. He's a 30-goal
Okay,
scorer.
well, then we can look back. The best season that we can look at now. Okay, the bubble year, the All-Canadian year, Besser carried the team. Nobody else did anything. He ended up with 49 points in 56 games. He was doing everything. He can clearly do it by himself. Since then, he's had like a lot of off-ice difficulties, which I think you kind of have to factor in a little bit. Like, obviously, dealing with his dad and stuff. So, his production dropped a little bit, understandably. But to say he can't do anything alone in an argument of who's better between Besser and Hyman,
I shouldn't have said he can't do anything alone. I said he doesn't do much alone. He can, just he's not the primary player. Not so much that, like, if you stick Hyman, it just happened. If you stick Hyman on the third line and you have him playing with like Henrique and I think it was Henrique and Jeff Skinner, he is by far the best guy on that line, and he is going to drive play, and he suddenly becomes the McDavid of that line, just as a comparison. Like, I think if you genuinely take him, there aren't many situations where you're going to find him without McDavid at 5v5, but if you take him out of where he is with McDavid, we saw it when McDavid was out. He was amazing. They're much different players, so quite honestly, the comparison is a little strange, but I think in overall value, Hyman is much better.
Okay, so I lagged out, and when we came back, JC was just doing a cameo, so enjoy that, I guess. This is the transition.
Hey Connor, aka Cheater, I'm Nux Memes, aka Nucko, and I wanted to wish you a very, very happy 23rd birthday. Now, we got to talk about Quinn Hughes, right? He's the greatest fucking player of all time. He's carrying us this year. He's first in defenseman points per game. He's actually the only reason I'm still alive right now. On those same lines, Philip Grubauer is the greatest goalie alive. No one comes close. Nobody can save pucks like my man Philip Grubauer can, and that's just a fact, okay? If you know what? Give me Vasilevsky, give me Hellebuck, give me Grubauer. I'm walking out of there with Grubauer. Patrick McNabb is also the greatest moosehead ever. And I think that's all I wanted to say, honestly. You know, let's go Quinn Hughes. Let's go Philip Grubauer. Let's go Patrick McNabb. And I hope that you have a great birthday, Cheater. I hope it's everything you wanted it to be. I hope you get a unicorn.
I gotta get a cameo, man.
You need like 30,000 followers, I think.
Oh. That's right, the Pacific Perspectives podcast. We'll get there soon.
Can we talk about the Kraken? I hate this fucking team.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
What a terrible team! You're an expansion team. You're gotta be. Do these fans just love communist hockey? Like, I don't understand. They play every single forward 14 minutes a night. They play all of their defensemen, except for Brandon Montour, one of their worst defensemen, like 18 minutes, and that's it.
Montour's cool.
It's just, the roster is good, but they deploy it. Well, actually, you know what? The roster's not good because they don't have a single game changer on the roster. They're trying to develop second overall pick Matty Beniers, who in his Calder year, they deployed him properly. Top line, second line, top power play, 18, 19 minutes a night. That's indicative of growth. Now, he's playing with bums. He's playing with Brandon Tanev and, like, I don't know, Yanni Gord. They just play terrorist hockey. It's hard to describe. No team
Okay.
has ever done anything like it. It's Islanders-esque, except it sucks.
Without looking it up, who do you think the leading scorer on the Kraken is right now?
I'm pretty sure it's Brandon Montour.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if it were like Stevenson, even though he sucks.
He's third. It's Jared McCann.
Jared McCann was my second.
Okay,
That's
that
not
makes
surprising,
sense.
though. He's a 40-goal scorer.
It's true. I'm just saying, the lack of game changers, I think, is really what.
There's none.
I think Xavier hit on that. Also, another thing, if you look at the roster, look how many left shot forwards they have.
That's
It's
true.
like only Bjorkstrand and Shane Wright that shoot right-handed, and like Everly.
And they won't play Shane Wright, and now they want to trade Bjorkstrand.
Now, and Sprong
Yeah,
is in
it
the
takes-
AHL.
Yeah.
This is some of the worst roster construction I've ever seen in not only hockey but sports. This team makes me so angry.
It's
They
so
are-
bad. They were up to
they're-
something with the second round appearance in, what was it, 2022, I think? Something like, no, 2023.
Right.
But, I mean, obviously they naturally sucked first year, as Vegas should have. But then they actually, they kept cooking. They signed some guys. They kept going. They started off by getting those nice guys that were falling through the cracks, just like Vegas did. They got Vince Dunn, who's like a legit top pair defenseman, and they got him for nothing. They got Jared McCann for literally absolutely nothing. They got him for I think the Leafs traded him for him for like a 7th round pick, and now he's
who were the
a
Leafs
consistent 30
protecting
goal.
there? Was it Kerfoot? I think the Leafs
I think
were
it was
protecting Kerfoot
Yeah,
by
it was Kerfoot,
leaving
yeah.
McCann unprotected.
I remember seeing the trade and I was like, oh, they got McCann. Like, that's a good deal. And it's just he was bait to get taken off of there instead of Kerfoot.
Right.
It was just so stupid. But they don't do that anymore. They're signing Chandler Stevenson to $7 million per year. That's not a guy
We also-
falling through the cracks.
We got to mention that the Ellie Tolvanen waiver pickup might be one of the most successful waiver pickups ever.
That too. He's not doing anything this year, though. I'll tell you that.
No, but he was great. Yeah, so this Kraken, do you guys know how many wins the Kraken have in their past 13 games?
Oh,
One.
Not many.
It's 3.
3.
That's
One of those
insanity.
was the 4-1 comeback with under 5 minutes left against the Canucks. So thanks for making me
That's right.
relive that.
That's right.
That's awesome.
I heard on the radio the other day, there was actually, maybe it was 32 Thoughts. There was a camp with like Ron Francis and the management group. They were kind of split between who they wanted at coach. Half of them wanted Todd McClellan, also terrorist hockey, and the other half went with Dan Bylsma. Now, obviously, Bylsma won out, but you have to wonder, if half of the management didn't really want him there, how long is that going to last if this is very obviously not working? Is he gone, like, next year? Like, I don't think they are going to give this guy much leeway.
Well, hopefully not, because they suck.
those-
It's the issue, I would honestly say, is the coach. Like, they just made the wrong choice, I think.
They desperately need Matty Beniers to finally become a star, because they have nothing.
He's not doing that on the third line with Brandon Tanev.
They have 4 third lines. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
That worked that one year.
They can play really they can play really well against your bottom 6, and when your top 6 comes out, everything's happening against them. It's bad.
Another middle 6 forward, LeBob Pat, to the Seattle Kraken.
I can't wait for that to happen in the offseason like 3 times. They're going to trade out
you mentioned
Bjorkstrand,
Todd
and they're just going
McClellan.
to replace him.
You mentioned Todd McClellan. We have to talk about the Habs. So what better way to segue into our conversation on the Eastern Conference wildcard race?
Oh, yeah.
Some very interesting things are currently happening there. Also, Boston's now probably a part of that because Boston can't win a game.
Nope.
You have 10 teams separated by 10 points currently. And that team in 10th is the Sabres, who have 2 games in hand on the team in first in that wildcard race. So, like, what is happening here? Who do you guys think will get those 2 spots? That's a good way to do this.
Xavier, you go ahead first.
That's a good question. Earlier in the year, I would have said Pittsburgh, but their defense just continues to get worse and worse and worse.
Tristan Jarry.
So, and Tristan Jarry continues to get it worse. And just when we thought Nedeljkovic was having a breakthrough, he had an amazing game against the Oilers. I think he had like 3 goals save above expected after letting in 3. Like, that's ridiculous. And then he lets in, 6 against... What team was it? I think he let it in against the Red Wings, something like that. He just had an awful game afterwards. But, I don't think any of these teams should make it, frankly.
I don't know. I think some of them have been battling back. Here's my. I don't even know if this is really a prediction. This is what I want to happen. I want to see the Red Wings and Rangers. I feel like the playoffs would be more fun if the Rangers were in them. Obviously, they don't deserve it currently. But they're only 4 points out with a game in hand on Columbus. So, I think if there were a team in that puddle of mud that could turn it around and start winning games again, I think it's the Rangers. The Red Wings, though, I have to mention what the Red Wings are doing currently. They lost their first game with Todd McClellan as head coach, and at the practice the following day, he told them to just play fucking hockey. You've been doing it your whole lives, and apparently that was all it took for them to then win 7 games in a row. They play San Jose tonight, so it could turn into 8. I mean, I'm probably jinxing it now by saying it, but they have really, really turned it around. I don't know how sustainable it is because they obviously have a ton of holes in their lineup. But Lucas Raymond, oh my goodness, 46 points in 42 games. DeBrincat has been great recently. Patrick Kane's been great recently. Dylan Larkin's been great recently. That's what they need. They need these guys to keep doing that. So I really, really want to see the Red Wings get that Wildcard 2 spot. I wish that I had the flag behind me still.
It would fall over.
Yeah, that's true. Never Louis Eriksson. Louis Eriksson will never fall over.
He won't. Do you have that set up with tacks?
No,
I can't see.
Well, it's sticky tack.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's what I've got here. But do you think they can actually make it, though? Because I agree with you.
Even Buffalo can make it, and I don't think Buffalo will make it, but Buffalo can make it. If they just win their next 2 games, which is a lot to ask from Buffalo.
It's a lot to ask.
They're only 5 points, or they're only
they're 9 points out of it.
They can still get back into this. Any of these teams can make it. It would also be cool if Ottawa made it, just because I live there. It'd be cool to see a playoff game. It would be cool if Montreal made it. I think Detroit can make it. Cam Talbot has been good. Maybe Husso can turn it around, and if Husso can't, hopefully Lyon will be alive. Their defense is just so ass.
Yeah. I've got a lot to say, and I haven't made my pick yet, but I'll let Olivia go, I think.
So I don't think the Habs are going to do it. I don't think this is for real. I think the depth is not good enough once you get past the top 2 lines. I do like the defense, I think, and I'm about to say something that's completely contrary to everything I just said there about depth and forwards past the top 2 lines. I think the Blue Jackets are going to make it. I really do. The vibes of this Blue Jackets team are ridiculous. I think Marchenko is having a stupidly good year. And the top pair of Werenski and Faber, I think, is underrated as one of the better top pairs in the league. Damon Severson's having a great year. Ivan Provorov, who I don't like for other reasons, is having a great year. Even Denton Mateychuk, he's pretty solid. Other than the goaltending and the bottom 6, this Blue Jackets team, I think, is pretty well built.
Voronkov's going silly too for some reason.
That is just stupid. In fantasy, these guys just where do they come from? Marchenko in my league, by my scoring, I think he's ranked 28. 28. Just imagine that. He's the 28th best fantasy player, and he was on waivers to begin the year.
I really can't believe how insane Marchenko is, and obviously we also have to shout out Monahan. He's doing it for something bigger than hockey. All of them are, but obviously Monahan especially. And he's been very good.
He's out a couple weeks now. I don't know what happened. I think he broke his ankle, but he's been a legit 1C this year. If you look at the analytics, he has been damn good. It's that team offensively is legit a playoff team. Defensively, maybe there's some things to improve upon. They're pretty young, and I mean, you've got Fabro, Werenski. It's working, but Fabro is not a top player. Obviously, Werenski has been ridiculous, though.
Werenski's stupidly good.
He was in my heart voting for a reason.
Yeah, I think so. I have the Blue Jackets and the Senators as the 2 teams make the wild card for me.
Senators.
I think I would agree. Those are my 2 picks to actually make it.
Xavier.
Sorry.
Shut up, Xavier. Shut up. My
The
Senators.
Senators, I think the Senators top 6 and the top 4 are just too nuts to not make it. Even though Levi Moret, I don't even know how to pronounce his last.
Carolina.
Levi's the starter. Yeah, Merrill-Linen. Like you look at the
Nah,
top
he's been good,
6 and like, oh, yeah, and he's been really solid. I think that's kind of part of why him proving that like he probably can be a starter, at least in a small sample size down the stretch here, for a team that can make a wildcard spot. Their center depth, other than like who's their fourth line center, like Zach Offsachuk or something. But like Norris,
I don't know what's
Stutzla,
happening
Pinto
there.
is really good. Kachuk and Batherson are great. Claude Giroux's having a really good year still. And then the top 4 are all their top 4 defensemen are good. Like even Nick Jensen, like is having a great year.
Don't tell Peter. Yeah,
I'm not
Batherson's
gonna
been
tell.
insane too. Norris. Yeah, they have a good team. Sanderson's been underperforming, but Shabbat has been overperforming, so it balances. It would be cool to see them make it.
Yeah. I think Sanderson even still is getting just a little unlucky, and his defensive numbers are still pretty good. So I'm not too worried about Sanderson long term.
They're a very underrated defensive team, I think. They're a legit top 10 defensive team, but because their goalies have sucked for so long, they kind of didn't get any credit. They were the same numbers last year, and I think they actually got slightly worse this year, but they're still really good. Like there's a reason they're really close to the playoffs. I think they probably have the best math to make the playoffs right now, despite Olmark being out a month. Considering, like I realistically, they are the pick to make it in if Boston continues to suck. They may even make it to a divisional spot if this thing with Tampa doesn't stop. Like they had a good week, or they had a good couple games recently, but they had like a month from hell at the beginning of January and the end of December, I gotta say.
Shout out Travis Green.
Right.
Yeah, why is
Also,
that guy
he-
a solid coach? I don't like him.
He was
I'm
fine
totally
on
out of
Vancouver
Boston.
for like a year.
I don't like his face.
He had it in him.
I
It's
just don't
actually
like his
funny
face.
how the Sens coaching staff is actually just the Canucks sloppy seconds because they also have Mike Yeo and Nolan Baumgartner. So it's really a
It's true.
funny coaching staff to look
It's
at.
true. Oh my.
Every time Olivia speaks, I don't know what to look at, so I just admire my face.
Yeah, I've been looking at you the entire time. You are the
Thank you.
subject.
Maggie.
But okay, so out of the teams in the East, and actually, you know what? This is a good thing to think about. In the West, you can realistically see all the teams that are in the playoffs right now. So that's Avs, Dallas, Minnesota, Winnipeg, LA, Edmonton, Vegas, and then Calgary and Vancouver. Realistically, the Blues are not in that race. People are saying they want to be in that race, but like they're not. They're 2 games back of Vancouver and Calgary, and they're 4 points behind them. They're not making it.
They
Math is
could
not
be
with them.
though. I mean,
You could-
Bennington's been turning it up recently. a little
You
bit.
could maybe see Utah. I really like them as a team, but I don't know how they just keep losing. Like they have a really good team and they just lose. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, they should be in that wild card spot right now. They have fumbled a little bit more recently, which is very, very nice for me. I've been monitoring these 4 teams. Obviously, I've been monitoring the Canucks, but I've been monitoring the other 3 teams very closely. Calgary just won't lose, and it's so frustrating. I was like, after 10 games, they were good. And I was like, okay, that's fine. It's a hot start to the year. They're going to fall off. And now we're halfway through the season, and they're 1 point ahead of us with the same amount of games played. It's quite frustrating because there's no world where we should be worse than them. But
You're
Dustin
not going to
Wolf's
like
been good.
this, but I think they make it. I think they make it
I
over
also
the
think
Canucks.
they make it.
It's going to be a sad reality.
I think you guys are not mixing in the fact that the Canucks have been injured all year and now aren't. And also Calgary's been going through a very easy schedule lately, and the Canucks have been going through a very difficult one lately, which is going to end up balancing out at some point.
I definitely say it's 50-50. Like, it's not guaranteed. I actually do want the Canucks to make it, because, like, that'd be really stupid if they just were another one-off team that isn't really any fun. Kind of makes them lack a direction. Calgary making it feels really like, where did that come from? But Utah, I think Utah making it would be the most fun. It's not really going to happen. No teams in the Central backing off, and I think Calgary and Vancouver are just have a better overall team. But besides that, but my point of bringing that up is you've got maybe Utah, probably not St. Louis, and it's 50-50 between Calgary and Vancouver. In the East, it's like, is Boston going to make it? Tampa
Any of 10
probably
teams.
makes it. Columbus might make it, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams not in the playoffs who are like, they could still make it, and we're in late January now, or mid-January. But I mean, it makes those East games, every single game matters, and every single game is going to be super fun. Haven't seen that in a while, gotta say.
Yeah, what do you guys think of? I think Friedman's the one who tweeted it out, but like the idea of a play-in like the NBA does in NHL. What do you guys think of it?
Okay, I'm gonna go first. I would hate it. So I'm a very anti-playoff expansion in sports broadly. I hate the new college football playoff. I hate that the MLB keeps adding more wildcard spots. The NBA play-in I think is one of my least favorite things in sports. Like, sure, it causes for some good games, but having 20 of your 30 teams be able to say they made the playoffs, and I'm doing air quotes, it just sucks. It makes the regular season matter less to me. I'd actually prefer they contract to one wildcard spot per conference, or get rid of the wildcard entirely. That's wrong. I hate playoff expansion, and even if they add more teams, I don't want them to do it.
I kind of agree. Like, I'm generally pretty against playoff expansion. I definitely don't think they should even think about expanding the playoffs until they get to 34 teams, which they will, whether you like it or not, they will. And eventually they'll get to 36, and I think at 36 you definitely don't want only 16 teams make it, because there'll be a lot of slop at the bottom where people won't be really encouraged to try past December and January. You'd have to go into a whole different argument about draft lottery and everything. But I think if you are going to expand it, make it so there is a separate wildcard game, just like baseball, that doesn't count towards regular season or playoffs. It's not a series. It's just one game, not a play-in series. That goes way too long, and it's stupid. Leave it up to just complete chance and luck. Let the Canucks and the Blues play one game to decide who gets the 16th spot. And then everything else, you keep the 16-team playoffs, and everything's the same. I think at the heart of it, you have to keep the 16-team playoffs. There can be a wild card round for 4 teams, 2 teams, however many, but I don't think you can really go past 20 or 22 without it becoming kind of bummy. But you can't go more than 16. I don't like it.
Yeah, I agree. I hate the play-in in basketball. I was only posed the question. I don't have anything else to say, to be honest.
You wouldn't expand it at all?
Like, if it comes to the point where there are 36 teams, which I'm against. I love 32 teams. It's so perfect.
It's so good for the math.
I know. I love it. But if it comes to that point, then you expand. But playoffs, being 16 teams, just makes so much sense because it makes the rounds easier. But especially currently, half the teams make it, half the teams don't. It's so beautiful.
It is the math. It's just symmetry. It's perfect. I don't think we should ever have, if we don't go past 32, which we will in 4 years, then there's literally no point. And yeah, Friedman was he talked about it on 32 Thoughts, and he was really adamant about, yes, expand the playoffs. But if you look at anywhere in any other sport, it doesn't make for a more interesting product. It just doesn't.
I take a look. I don't either of you watch college football, but the national championship this year being the 5th and 6th best teams because they expanded it to a 12-team playoff instead of just the 2 best teams prove themselves for the regular season. They're going to prove who's the best between those 2. I fucking hate it. It makes me so angry, and I'd hate the same thing to happen in the NHL. I would contract to 8-team playoff before I'd expand to any slots. I hate huge playoffs.
8-team playoffs.
I would do
A 32-team league, you want 8-team playoffs?
Going back to 1920.
Oh my god.
No, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
I get why. No, I know it's radical.
You're such an extremist. Oh my goodness.
I am.
That's
I
crazy.
am about playoffs. We play 82 games for a goddamn reason.
It's true. It's true. I think. I mean, you kind of have to balance how much you want the regular season to matter compared to the playoffs, and I think the NHL has a absolutely perfect balance right now. Would you guys agree?
Well,
obviously, Olivia doesn't.
I do think it's the best of the major sports right now, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I would go more extreme. But yeah,
I'm happy with the system. I also don't people are so adamant about wanting 1 through 8. seeding instead of what it is right now.
People-
But who cares? Like
People don't
barely
realize.
anything-
That's a good thing you mentioned it. People don't realize that doesn't really change anything.
Yep.
You know who the Oilers would? So the Oilers would play the 5th place in the league right now, Kings.
I guess I'm just done with my point then. Your turn.
Okay, you expand on your point. Expand on your
No,
point.
no, you finished my sentence for no reason whatsoever. Continue. Keep going.
Okay.
Your turn.
Okay, so they'd play the 5th place Los Angeles Kings by point percentage, right? By just by the divisional spot. That's 2 and 3. If you change it to 4 and 5 playing, they'd currently play the Dallas Stars. Do we prefer that, Oilers fans? I don't think you do. So I don't think it really matters. 1 and 8. It doesn't. I think that the playoff setup they have right now is completely fine. It'll depend by year how good the wildcard teams are, but besides that, doesn't matter.
Also, I think in the West right now, it'd be, if it was 1 through 8, it'd be what, Vegas and Calgary and Winnipeg and Colorado anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
that's exactly what it makes no difference most of the time.
I think the only
Perfect.
real difference is Edmonton and Dallas, and then Minnesota and LA.
Okay.
We done on that point.
Yeah.
We went on a real
got
tangent there.
Nothing left. Do we have anything else to cover before we do questions, or can we just go to questions? Daddy's hungry, and the Canucks start in half an hour.
Can I talk about Gabe Vilardi?
Yes.
Go ahead. Talk about Gabe Vilardi.
I love Gabe Vilardi. I have no connection to the Winnipeg Jets. In fact, I'd actually say I'm a Jets hater. But
Based. Me too.
the way Gabe Vilardi is playing this year, I have become maybe the biggest Gabe Vilardi fan in the world, because he is just so good at being exactly where he needs to be. Watch him on the power play. It's masterful the way he plays on the power play.
Masterful.
He is so good at getting open, and I love Gabe Vilardi. That's all I have to say. I just watch some Gabe Vilardi power play if you want to have a good time.
Someone offered me Gabe Vilardi in fantasy, and I was like, "What are you talking about? This guy's not good." I look at his stats, and I'm like, "What the hell?
Yeah.
If you look at the projections, like the projections of the points for where most Winnipeg Jets are at right now, it just makes no sense. Adam Lowry is on pace for like 50 points. Ehlers is on pace for like 90. Connor's on pace for like 110. Where are they summoning this from? I don't get it.
It's crazy that the Jets got Vilardi, Iafallo, and Kupari for Pierre Loser Dubois.
Yep.
Who isn't even on the Kings anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so fun. Kapari's also having a great year.
And
Yeah.
now Dubois is good on the Capitals. Now he's
but
good.
Kemper's good on the Kings, so that trade at least worked out. That
Yeah.
was a win-win.
That's true.
That was a good one, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll save Joel Farabee for another time. We can just stick with Vilardi for now.
Yeah, 3 scratches in a row, by the way. Thanks.
I hate John
Torts.
Tortorella with my entire soul and body.
I traded him away. I can't even think about it.
We're not saving Joel Farabee for next time. Do you want to just go for it now?
No. Joel Farabee's awesome. He's cool. I wish he got more playing time. That's the gist of it.
Okay. What are our questions today, Xavier Mimamoto?
Okay. So our questions today, we got 2 here because you guys do not ask any interesting real-life questions. And there he goes with the Neo glasses. So this one's from Carter Welke. What do the Oilers and the Canucks really need at the trade deadline? Like the number 1 choice. What would you say? And we can let Olivia answer this one for the Habs as well. Do you think they should sell or buy? I think that'll be yours.
Ooh. Okay, give me some time to think. You guys can go first.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, kind of very, very obvious for the Canucks, I think. Our second pairing on defense is Susie Myers.
And the third pairing sucks as well.
Forbert's cool. I kind of like Forbert. But yeah, Desharnais, honestly, if you look at his stats, he's not even that terrible. Forbert, Desharnais could be fine, but I think they're running Forbert, Juleson. I guess
That
we'll
just
see.
sounds awful.
I haven't minded Forbert as a bottom pairing guy, but the problem is that Susie should also be a bottom pairing guy. Myers can maybe be a second pairing guy. Like, if Myers is on his game, he can be a second pairing guy, but that's a gamble. We gotta get someone. And it doesn't seem like we're getting Rasmus Anderson, considering he said,
No.
I hate the Oilers, I hate the Canucks, and also the Flames are in that battle.
Yeah, they're not. They're not trading Anderson anymore. I don't think they are.
I would sell my left nut for Bowen Byram.
You know, he's really not that good.
He's young. He's 23.
He's also riddled with CTE. He's going to retire at like 32.
That is true.
He's also just straight up not that good. Like his even strength numbers are just kind of nah. He's an average like number 4.
Look at our other options though. There's Ivan Provorov. Don't want him. There's Rasmus Ristolainen, who has been better. Not worth his contract at all though. Like not even close. Who else? There's Marcus Pettersson. Marcus Pettersson would be cool. I'd very much enjoy Marcus Pettersson. And then there's like no one.
How would you feel about like Nick Blankenberg? Just throwing a name out there.
Who?
Do you guys know about Nick Blankenberg?
No, I know who.
I know who Nick Blankenberg is.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would I want Nick Blankenberg?
He's not a trade
good.
deadline option at all.
I think I could see the Predators selling. He's solid. I think that's a solid.
I thought it was a Blue Jacket.
Nope, he is a Predator.
He was a Blue Jacket last year.
You are a Predator.
Yeah, I'm just throwing a name out there.
I don't know if Nick Blankenberg's
All
the
right.
guy. I don't know
Fair
if he's the savior of this Canucks defense.
I'm not saying. Hey, he doesn't need to be the savior. You're not
He's
getting
saving
the
the
savior
season.
anywhere.
Marcus Pettersson could definitely be a savior.
Oh, okay, that's a bit. I mean,
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I
He could
honestly,
revive this. How much better would our defense look if we don't have Carson Soucy on the second pair?
I actually completely agree. I completely agree with that. Like, just Pettersson by himself is like a solid second pairing guy, but if you plug him into a team that like he's replacing someone who just shouldn't be in the NHL, then that is a significant difference. So I'd agree with that.
Nick Blankenberg's on a 40-point pace. That's all I'm saying.
No way.
Shut up about Nick Blankenberg.
Where did
This is the most airtime that Nick Blankenberg is ever getting on a podcast ever.
He deserves it.
No one's ever talked about him like this.
I'm standing up for the underrepresented players of the NHL.
For the
How old is
Oilers,
Nick Blankenberg?
28. I guarantee you 28.
Okay. Oh, you don't actually know. He's
How old is he?
26.
Oh,
He's 26.
crap. He's pretty young.
See?
Pretty young.
You guys are getting convinced.
Wait,
Maybe.
did you say he's on a 40-point pace?
He's got what, like 20? He's got 10 points in 20 games.
No, you're fucking tripping. He has 4
I
points in
tripping?
20 games.
Oh,
Like
40 points
10 point
pace.
pace.
yeah. Hey, you
Yeah,
know what?
right.
Sometimes you misread. Isn't that the truth?
Misread.
He probably has like a 10 plus minus.
He
And I
has
looked at the
10
wrong
penalty
column.
minutes.
Yeah. Oh, 10 plus. See, I looked at the wrong column.
He's on pace for 40 penalty minutes.
Hey, you know what?
Sign
I
me
hope-
up. I want him on my second pair immediately.
I never said second. You'd be happy with about your third. You'd rather him or Noel Jules? So tell me right now.
Oh, I'd take anyone over Noah Juleson. It doesn't have to be Nick Blankenberg specifically.
true.
We could get like fucking Eric Brandstrom back.
You don't want them to trade Pettersson or Miller before the deadline?
Oh yeah, I forgot that was a question you were gonna ask, but we can save that for next year.
Next year?
We can save that for next week. We'll save that question.
There won't
for
be
next
a
week.
next year.
I'll just say I want to keep Pettersson and I want to keep Miller. Do you guys want to talk about your trade deadlines now?
Oh yeah, sure. So the Oilers, a lot of talk has been really tame. I mean, there isn't really any major. We're gonna have a boring deadline. I think it's gonna be a really boring deadline. There's no, first of all, because of how many teams are in it in the East, most people are gonna be pretty reluctant to sell. Maybe you'll see like a Dylan Cousins trade. I probably want like a third line right winger, like give me like a Joel Armia or a Jake Evans, like someone like that. Get him for like a really expensive bottom sixer. Give him like a second round pick, maybe a couple prospects, and they'll give us a solid third line player. And that's just at forward. I think besides that, it's completely fine. You're gonna get Evander Kane back. Forward group is already cooking as it is. Don't really need to touch that. But on defense, absolutely, they need, if they are going to win the cup, they need a replacement for Stetcher. Now, the thing is, you could solve this internally by Nurse and Kulak have played together a lot this year. Kulak on his offside. And that actually is done really well. But the issue is the bottom pair becomes horrible, it's Emberson Stetcher. Emberson's fine when he plays with Kulak, but Stetcher kind of seems to just kill everything that he touches. So you can either go out and get maybe a Nick Blankenberg, like a Brett Kulak kind of clone, a guy that's a 4 or a 5. And I don't know where you'd plug him in, either because you get the 4 or 5 kind of defenseman, you can then keep Kulak with Nurse, or you can just have the deadline acquisition on the bottom pair, work it that way. But either way, they do need a legit, like, number 4 defenseman, another one.
Setcher won the Canucks Defenseman of the Year award in 2017, the year after Ben Hutton won it. I was talking about that in chat today.
That's right.
Because I got bored in class.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What?
Fred Setcher was once our best defenseman in a season.
They made the playoffs that year.
Who? What?
Didn't they? The Canucks made the playoffs in 2016, didn't they? No, 2015, I mean. 2015.
2015 we made it.
Yeah. Ben Hutton was their
won
best
it in
defenseman?
2017. Yeah, Stetcher was our best defenseman 2 years after we made playoffs, in a year when we sucked.
2015. Ben Hutton, when he won best defenseman for... Hold on. Wait,
Yeah,
what?
it's crazy. We went from playoffs to Ben Hutton being our best defenseman in 1 year.
He was 25 points.
Isn't too bad.
1 goal. One goal.
That's decent.
Minus 21. Best defenseman.
Minus 21. Do we care about plus minus currently?
Oh, I'm just saying, if that's your best defenseman, who's your worst defenseman? Actually, let's see. Let's look at the
Lucas
2015-16 Canucks roster.
Derek Pouliot, Michael Delzato.
Nikita Trampkin.
Oh my.
Taylor Fadoon.
Trampkin.
Andrei Padon. Oh my goodness.
I don't know who that is.
I forgot about that guy.
Edler and Tanev had to have missed some of the season, though. Early.
Edler and Tanev.
Can we? Okay.
Yeah, they basically didn't play.
Can we go to the Habs trade deadline now?
I am on the train of
Nick Blankenberg.
addition by subtraction. If you need to trade, no, actually, okay, I'm not going to be that hyperbolic. I would much prefer if we could find a way to get Christian Dvorak off of the hockey team. I don't know if that's possible, but I would much prefer if Christian Dvorak was not on this team in some capacity after the deadline. Same thing goes with Michael Bozzetta, who's like, I'm sure some team would give like a really late pick in a future draft for Michael Bozzetta because he's like a grit guy and all that fun stuff. But I don't think we're really in the position to be making any like huge major ads, or in the position to really like be selling off like a line A, or I don't know. That's really the only piece I think we would have to sell off. Maybe an Armia or Jake Evans, but I really don't see Jake Evans getting traded. I think he's become really a core piece of that team in the bottom 6.
Yeah.
Maybe Carrier because he's been playing pretty well since coming over. But yeah, no, I think it'll be more addition by subtraction, and making sure Savard and Dvorak don't play as much as they currently do.
Oh yeah, Savard as well. They'll definitely trade Savard, right? I feel like that's for sure.
I don't know if anyone wants the contract. He's so bad. Like he's the worst player on the team. I don't really think it's close.
Surely there's some dumbass GM out there who thinks he's worth like a third. I feel like that's bound to happen.
That is another one that the Canucks are interested in.
Oh, of course.
Oh, well, sweet. There we go.
I'm sure the Oilers are too.
Or Nick Blankenberg. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're just using the worst like hypotheticals to hype up Nick Blankenberg. Would you rather get fucking bombed and all of your limbs are absolutely exploded and detached from your body, and you no longer get to breathe or live or like see beautiful things like the nature and stuff like that? Or would you rather have Nick Blankenberg on your team?
This is how I do things. My favorite players are Nick Dowd and Joel Farabee. I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran at terrible hypotheticals.
What's our next question? I want to make food.
We do have 2 questions. I was gonna say there's 2 questions here, guys. So this next one's from William Doe-Ratty 13, and it's: if you had to pick a city for the league to expand to, where would it be and why?
Quebec City. Next.
That's boring. My pick would also be Quebec City.
Okay, Quebec City is the correct choice, but I'm not. I'm going to be different. I think a sneaky great pick would be Indianapolis. It's a really budding sports market. They really only have the Colts, and the Pacers are really doing a lot better lately. I think that's a market that could support an NHL team if they market it properly. Obviously, Quebec City's the better choice, but I think Indianapolis would be great too.
I haven't thought about that.
Knew how to play basketball.
Dude, he's so bad. This is not a basketball podcast, though.
Third question.
Oh, we don't have a third question.
You said there are 2 other questions.
Oh, no, I said there are 2 questions.
Oh.
Get some ears, buddy.
Well, okay. Thank you all for listening to episode 14 of the Pacific Perspectives podcast. Sadly, as I said before, Daddy's hungry. The Canucks start in 17 minutes. I want spaghetti.
Spaghetti? What are you, a child? He's looking at me funny. All right,
your local Nick Blankenberg.
Spaghetti.
We're going to record this podcast. Can you do it on Saturday?
Why are you planning this while still recording?
I don't know. When the viewers can expect the next one to drop, because it'll be sooner than we waited last time.
We'll keep it on schedule. There's no more Xavier's girlfriend's birthday. There's no more me not wanting to record at 11 p.m. on a Sunday. We'll get it out Sunday or Monday like usual next week. All
right, we disappointed the viewers, but yes, we will be back on Sunday. Thank you for listening.
I'm so unbelievably sorry to all 5 of you. We will never let you down like this again. I hope that you can forgive us.
There are tens of us. All right, get out of here.
Thank you very much to Olivia for hopping on the pod.
Yes,
Do you have any closing remarks you want to say about anything? Doesn't have to be about hockey. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I fucking hate Jerry DePota.
That's great.
That's a good way to sign off.
Right there. That's where we got to leave it. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you all next week.